the real estate industry and interviewing for a job.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
We're excited to welcome you back to another episode of the Inside Track on real estate, where we share ideas, thoughts, techniques, that we all need, we all deserve, you, I, everyone, to turn our house into our home where our families thrive and we live the best life possible. Interviewing. What on earth, Yetta, are you talking about? This is a real estate show. I'm not interviewing for a job. Well, actually, every single day when I meet a new buyer or a new seller, I'm actually interviewing and I'm being interviewed. How fun is that? So on this show, we're going to learn a little bit of what questions you might want to ask when you're interviewing a realtor. And have you ever thought about it that way? Have you ever thought that you're actually in an interviewing situation?
Right. And a spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert?
Yep. We're not going to give you all of the questions on the show.
There's too many. The questions you ought to be asking, the ones that will be telling and give you insight that you might not even have known would be valuable.
Yes. But another tidbit is that we will send them to you.
We will. All you have to do is ask us real estate questions, real estate interview questions, email info@Decker team. We will get them to you, or actually more fun than that.
Ashley will get them to you.
She will. She will. And you could just email together@deckerteam.com. And that is where you could just put subject, interview questions, realtor interview questions. And not only will we give you the questions, we'll give you our answers and then a blank template where you could ask someone else the questions if you're feeling that you want to interview more than one. Sometimes clients of ours, especially if we've worked with them before, and 76% of our clients we worked with previously, or they've been introduced to us from somebody, they choose to interview us more as verification that this is going to work well again this time, or like my friend told me, and they're not interviewing a whole bunch. However, you may not know us, or you may feel that you just got to do your due diligence and invest the time. And these days, it's kind of cool. We can interview on Zoom. We can interview on live chat. We can interview on Messenger. We don't even have to be. That's the neat part of the neat thing of this past season we've been in. We're now able to do things more expediently and remotely. It's more expedient.
Yes.
And do an initial interview. I always did an initial phone conversation or meeting anyway, which was interview A. It was just a phone interview, which told me whether or not we were actually going to meet face to face.
Right. And the other interesting thing, like you said, 76% of our business comes from repeat and referral, and 20% of our business comes from our CHRI listeners.
Which is so cool, right? So that's like 96. So if you don't have it in, you probably aren't going to work with us. So interviewing is important, though, because you want to make sure that you make a sound decision. And we want you to make a sound decision as much as we want to make a sound decision and make sure that this partnership, you probably heard us say, if you've been listening to any quantity of Inside Tracks, that we are your partners in moving forward together. And as we do that, we really all do so much better because together we've got it. And so if there isn't a feeling of, hey, this is a great partnership, this is not the alignment that I'm looking for, then the interview can be short and sweet and over.
So it's actually interesting because we've been on the radio for years and years. And our shows, we share a lot of sometimes intimate things.
Right. And also a lot of insider tips and strategies and ways of doing business and knowledge. And so there is so much of a feeling, I don't even know if that's proper English, but there is a significant feeling that you already know us.
Yeah. And we've been on the CHRI advertising for 20 years. So when we get to sit down, sometimes our potential client who's interviewing us knows us better than we actually know them. So it takes us a little bit of time to get to know them, their family, and feel part of the family, so to speak.
Right, because it's the Decker Team family. That's what our gatherings are called. That's what our hanging out is, because it's relational service that we get to do through real estate. So if the relationship doesn't feel good to you or to us,
then we're not a good match.
Then it's just not a good fit. So making sure that as you interview, the person has an alignment with who you be and what you're looking to accomplish. So that's kind of the next piece. Can they do the thing you're asking them to do? Do they have enough knowledge or expertise in that area? I've sometimes heard, a client say, "Gee, I'm going to be an investor. I'm buying my fourth investment property. How many investment properties do you own?" And if a realtor can't answer at least as many probably as that person, or what's your experience both personally and professionally with that, it may not be the good fit for that type of real estate.
That could be.
Right? Because if you don't have experience there, how can you actually help someone else? You've got to have a few steps ahead to serve somebody the best way possible. So when you're interviewing, that's actually a really important question or area to go down, is think about what you need them to do and ensure that not only have they done it for others, that they've actually experienced it themselves.
And that comes down to the experience. Maybe how many years have you been in the real estate business, and what's your experience in buying in the real estate business? Then also, not only years, but how many homes have you sold?
Right.
Because sometimes people are in this industry and they might have been in for 3 years, but they've sold 3 houses.
Right. Rather than 3 or 4 houses a month for 30 years. Right? Like it's a different conversation.
Right.
So very important to make sure that you know the level of expertise and also the type of property. Maybe it's a condominium, but they've not sold a lot of condominiums. Or maybe it's waterfront, or maybe it's well and septic, and there's just not a knowledge base there. And that's whether you're selling or buying, for that matter. All these questions are often equally as pertinent and important, whether it's from a selling perspective or a buying perspective. And the reality is so many of our clients also are buying when they're selling, or selling when they're buying.
Yep. And I think that one of the reasons, go back to that 76% again, 76% of our clientele is repeat and referred. And that's over 31 years of being in the real estate business. If you're not doing a good job for people, A, they're not going to refer you, and B, you're not going to be in business for 31 years.
And they're not coming back.
And building a family business.
Right. So,
yeah, and I think the old adage really plays, right? The old adage is that if you do a great job, they might tell 1 or 2 people about you. If you do a poor job, they might tell 10 or 20 people about your poor job.
Well, and today in technology, it's probably hundreds. It's actually...
With social media, it's probably hundreds.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we're grateful to be your partners in building wealth through real estate for over 31 years.
Moving forward with the Decker Team. Moving forward together with the Decker Team.